Good morning, everyone. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 in the current state of emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this special session of Independent School District 279 School Board will be conducted via electronic means, internet video conferencing. Superintendent Corey McIntyre and myself, Board Chair Kelsey Dawson-Walton, have determined that due to the health pandemic and emergency declaration, a meeting format allowing for in-person attendance by the school board and superintendent is not practical or prudent for this special session. Members of the public, up to 10, are able to attend this virtual meeting in person at the Educational Service Center under CDC and MDH guidelines. An archived recording of this meeting will also be available on the district website. This special meeting of the Independent School District 279 School Board is called to order at 7:33 p.m. on January 29th, 2021. Board members joining us by video conference, please respond when I call your name. Director Thomas Brooks.
Here.
Director Heather Douglas.
Here.
Director Chan McGrady.
Here.
Director Misketa Jones.
Here.
Director Tanya Simons.
Here.
Superintendent Corey McIntyre.
Here.
And I, Kelsey Dawson-Walton, present. General Counsel Tim Palmatier is also logged into this video conference. The topic on the agenda for the school board's consideration and action is Osseo Area's Schools Learning Model Update. I'll hand it over to Superintendent McIntyre.
All right, thank you, Chair Dawson-Walton, and thank you, board members, for meeting at this early hour. Board members, I continue to appreciate once again your support of the board through the course of the school year here as the challenges it's presented to us and as we continue to move in and out of learning models. We are confident that based on the case rate data received over the past few weeks, that we'll see future case rate data continue to improve to the point where we can now move forward with bringing students back safely in our middle schools and high schools in compliance with the Minnesota Department of Education and Minnesota Department of Health requirements. So this morning I'm bringing you a recommendation for hybrid learning starting February 17th for middle school grades 6, 7, 8, and high school grades 9 and 12. And on March 1st, a start for high school grades 10 and 11. Intensive special education services in grades 6 through 12 and Osseo Area Learning Center will start also on February 17th. There will be no school for secondary students except for Distance Learning Academy on February 12th and 16th for preparation for hybrid learning. This recommendation has the support of the Minnesota Department of Education, Minnesota Department of Health, and Hennepin County Public Health members on our regional support team. So next I'll briefly present the updated information that we currently have. And Chair Dawson-Walton, can you just verbally confirm you see the slides?
I do see them.
Thank you so much. So our current readiness indicator dashboard, as we continue to look at our 10 key readiness indicators, are what we use to inform our decision making to change learning models. Our current, for our district safe learning plan, that's our version of the Minnesota State Learning Plan, is referenced here, and we're currently in level 3, reflecting our current rolling start to full in-person learning in our elementary schools with distance learning for our secondary schools along with our Distance Learning Academy. We continue to see and use three overarching considerations when we've been making our learning model decisions: community impact from county and city case rate data, our operational effectiveness with a primary focus on staff absences and sub availability, and school safety based on district case rates of positive, symptomatic, and close contact cases. We continue to be consistent with following our 5-step decision-making framework, which includes reviewing case rate data and key indicators, consultation with state and county officials and district stakeholders, and then district administration designing and developing recommendations for the board consideration and recommendation on and decision-making on district-wide model changes. And then lastly, we communicate and update stakeholders on the status of our learning models. Here again is the state model parameters for county case rate counts, which currently continue to be used for learning models for secondary students in school districts in Minnesota. The key threshold here is the case rates need to be below 30 for secondary hybrid and below 10 for full in-person learning for all students. As I mentioned in previous meetings, school districts need to also take into account not only county level data, but city level data and those confirmed cases, quarantines, and close contacts in our school community when looking at learning models. I'm providing you the most up-to-date case rate data from Hennepin County, where we saw another significant decrease with the countywide rate decreasing over 7 points, putting the county number at 30.9 during this past week. As we continue to see dramatically improving case rate data, this opens up the door to move our plans for in-person hybrid learning more quickly at the secondary level. This graph provides you with the updated local city data. And in summary, Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center saw a decrease in just 1 week from nearly 50 to nearly 40. Maple Grove and Plymouth saw a decrease from nearly 40 to nearly 30 and below. Based on this evidence, we have confidence that this trend will continue and that we project that in the next 2 weeks we will see the county-wide rates drop below the key threshold of 30 set by the state for consideration of hybrid learning in our secondary schools. This was confirmed by the state and county public health in our consultation call yesterday, Thursday. And again, this is a review from data you saw on Tuesday regarding our district data. As of Monday, January 25th, when looking at our district COVID statistics from the previous week, we had 2 more cases come up from the prior week where we had 19 positive cases. When looking at symptomatic case reports, in the previous week, we had 35 cases, which was an increase from the prior week, which we can attribute to students and staff being back in person and having a better ability to identify symptoms. When looking at close contact cases reported, we also had an increase from the last week, again attributable to being back to in-person learning at the elementary level. And just for a way to compare with similar metrics to the way the county measures city and county rates, this is our district case rate data, which we calculate in the same formula for 14-day per 10,000 for students and staff. And here we are now, this reflects our number at 11.8, which in essence reflects a status that is significantly improved. By way of feedback from the meeting Tuesday, we added some new data here for the board, looking at our staffing impact. There's a number of things we are monitoring closely, and that is including our absence reports now that we're back in person learning at the elementary level. So we have been daily tracking teacher and ESP absences for in-person sites, and we have seen an increase this past week. And looking at, this is the teacher data from yesterday. So you get a sense for the percentage of staff and the numbers for each building. And really the highlight here is we're watching this daily closely, and this indicates, for example, that Woodland Elementary had the highest percentage of teaching staff out. And we also really look at closely which positions require or do not require a substitute for that those positions. This is an update on yesterday's data for our ESP data. And so the highlight here is, for example, Zanewood Elementary had the highest percentage of ESP staff absent yesterday, and oftentimes on positions may or may not need a sub. The point I also want to make here is we have assigned a teacher continuous sub to each elementary building with an alternate site if no sub is needed at that school. So this helps decrease the number of different staff and students that the continuous sub interacts with, and provides consistency for the sites. We'll continue to monitor staff absences carefully. As you can see here, we do this daily, and work each day to try to fill teacher absences and staff absences with the return of the additional grade levels to an in-person model at the secondary level. Yesterday, we had our required MDE and MDH and Hennepin County Regional Support Team meeting regarding the proposed learning model change to in-person hybrid model for middle school and high school that we shared at the board meeting Tuesday night. The regional support team did agree with our analysis of the current and projected case rate data, indicating we are accurate in the rates continue to improve or go down, and that they will continue to trend down in the near future, dropping below 30 in the county starting next week. Although there is concern of another peak in case rates due to the variant virus in March, the team was clear there's no real clear picture right now on that, and that the regional team indicated this is a good time to move forward to hybrid learning in person. They affirmed the original parameters of the Safe Learning Plan of the 10, 20, 30, and 50, and those parameters are still applying, and also affirmed the requirement of a 2-week rolling start with no more than 3 grade levels at a time to ensure safe implementation of each building's safe learning plan for in-person learning and the successful implementation of the new COVID-19 testing program for staff. But in the end, the team did support and approve our district plan moving forward. Just real quick update on the vaccine. As you're aware of the state vaccine pilot program, where the effort is to prioritize a number of things, and that is an effort to prioritize staff working in person with students who may not be able to social distance or wear face masks or may have difficulty with some distancing. Note that our school nurses access the vaccine through a separate state process. The prior week, we had just over 200 opportunities for vaccine the prior week, and we were given just shy of 1,100 opportunities this week in an effort to provide vaccine opportunities for all of our elementary, early childhood, and Kids Stop staff. We know the state experienced significant problems with the appointment scheduling system this week. And at this point, from what we've been told from the Minnesota Department of Education, that every appointment slot for approximately 18,500 vaccines has been filled, and we have a significant wait list. And we are also reassured that those staff members who are currently on a wait list will remain in the system until more vaccines are made available, so they don't lose that space in their in the wait list priority. So we'll receive more information more likely on Monday. That's when we've been the last 2 weeks receiving new updates. But they're going to be making some changes to the system to avoid the problems they experienced this week. I referenced this earlier that our testing program is up and running, started on January 25th on Monday at our elementary schools, and we will be offering the same testing program at our secondary schools starting on February 22nd, so that we can provide this optional testing opportunity for all staff who are regularly in the building free of charge. Test results will be sent to the lab the same day, and results are emailed to the employee within 24 to 48 hours. So, board members, my recommendation at this time is the district move to hybrid learning starting February 17th for grades 6, 7, and 8, and grades 9 and 12, and on March 1st starting for grades 10 and 11. Again, intensive special education services for grades 6 through 12 and our Osseo Area Learning Center would start on February 17th. No school for secondary students except for Distance Learning Academy on February 12th and 16th in preparation for hybrid learning. I'm going to stop presenting here. And just in closing, I know I've said it many times, but I just want to continue to say we know these changes are hard and affect the daily lives of our families and staff, and most importantly, our students. We continue to see the impact of the pandemic on academic, social, and nutritional well-being of our students, and we see the need to prioritize in-person learning while doing it safely. We're at a point in time of being able to take another step towards meeting that need. The dramatic improving case rate data, along with additional COVID testing and PPE protections, opens the door to move our plans forward for in-person hybrid learning more quickly at the secondary level at this time. I do want to take a moment once again to recognize the amazing work of our middle school and high school principals over the last few days. Their hard work and planning and preparation needs to be acknowledged, and their effort it'll take the next 2 weeks with this aggressive timeline is greatly appreciated. I also want to recognize the teachers and all the other staff who will be working very hard to transition back into this model for in-person instruction and make it successful, which we know they will. We're going to be asking a lot of them, of our leaders and our staff, but we know once again they will rise to the challenge to meet the needs of our students who we are putting first. So thank you, and Chair Dawson Walton, I'll turn it back to you to facilitate any questions or comments the board has.
Thank you. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of a rolling start for secondary hybrid for grades 6 through 8 and grades 9 and 12 on February 17th and grades 10 and 11 on March 1st, 2021 with intensive special education services grades 6 through 12 in Osseo Area Learning Center starting February 17th, 2021, and no school for secondary students except Distance Learning Academy on February 12th and 16th, 2021. Do we have a second?
Second.
So for discussion, I am going to just call on each board member, and I'll start with Director Simons.
Yeah, I have a question on the sub tracking information, which is, or the absence tracking information. It's very helpful. Is that absences for any reason or specific COVID absences? And would they include, if they're for any reason, including like planned absences?
Yeah, they reflect any absences.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, Director Grady.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who has called and emailed and messaged me. This is a really tough decision to be made. And I have heard from, parents that are tired of having their kids at home, to parents that are tired of teaching, parents who need to work, our teachers that have worked so hard to forge a new educational environment in the middle of a global pandemic. I want to let you know that we hear you. And then to our students who miss their friends and are frustrated with the online model, we hear you, we care about you. There's no single easy answer that solves every complication to this pandemic. And as a school board member, I feel like I have a responsibility to balance all the risks and the rewards so that our students can have the safest and best education. I'm also thinking that the virus is continually evolving and adapting, so that we must continue to respond urgently, safely, and responsibly, and make our decisions based on the advisement of the experts of Minnesota's public health system. Thank you, everybody, for your work, and I will be supporting the superintendent's recommendation today.
Thank you. Director Douglas.
Thank you. I do not have any questions. Tanya asked my question, so and Tamara shared my sentiment. So thank you.
All right, thanks. Director Mosqueda Jones.
Thank you. I want to echo what Director Grady said. This is always, every single time we've done this year, it's been a difficult decision. We hear all the stakeholders. We know how hard this has been on absolutely everyone, and especially our students. I also am hoping that a couple of things that I've been hearing, Corey, if you can just address in the interest of equity in our higher numbers in Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center. My understanding is that they should be pretty close to 30 during that time. And I also want to say thank you for the comprehensive look at absences and what how that helps us inform our decisions. So thank you, Director Simons, for asking for that.
Thank you. Director Brooks.
I will just echo and say the same, that this decision does not get any easier, no matter how many times we have to make it. If there is one thing that's become clear in the last 24 to 48 hours, it's that this really isn't the board's decision at the end of the day. The Superintendent McIntyre is following the mandates of the state and the approval of the regional team, which then begs the question what this vote actually means today for us. As of right now, I'm inclined to support it because it does represent the fact that as a community we've seen declining and continuing to decline case rates in our district. But I'm frankly not happy with this model. We've received a lot of emails and messages about this hybrid model, and very few of them, if any, have been positive on either side of the argument. So I don't feel confident that we're setting our kids up for success in this model. So I'd really like us to continue to keep a close eye on case rates over the next coming weeks, and potentially make a case to the state for a change. But I'm concerned with the number of transitions coming up, and as Superintendent McIntyre said, we we know that our principals and school staff will do everything they can to make these transitions as smooth as possible, and we have the most confidence in them for that. But yeah, concerns with the transitions, um, concerns with the number of doses that we'll be receiving in the coming weeks, and that still being unknown. And then just concern for those families that maybe have seen a little bit of success in the distance learning model, that have 5 days of access to learning in front of a teacher, now going down to 2 days. But I also acknowledge that there are students that have not been successful in distance and they're actually gaining 2 days. So that's where I'm at. I'll support it, just not thrilled about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Brooks, and board colleagues. I, as everyone else, I'm concerned for our students academically, and I'm concerned for our students with the social, emotional, and mental well-being of our students, which really leads to polar opposite views on how to resolve and bounce back from this current global pandemic. And I want to just say that, Superintendent McIntyre, I've seen the way you've, been able to juggle and had to juggle our public health officials, our state, district leadership and staff, community concerns, student voice, families, and quite honestly, our board weighing very valid views while ferociously advocating in the best interest of our students, making the most informed decisions with information you collect each week. And I don't take lightly the work it takes to switch models, to Director Brooks' point, on our district principals and educators and students. I don't think anyone's in this field to keep students out of the building. You're here because it's a calling, I believe, in education is, and to educate our future generations of our society. And so today, especially, I want to call out our secondary principals. It was a very, very fast turnaround, and you rose to the occasion for our students, and I want to thank you. I also want to say, one of the things that we keep hearing is about the achievement gap and what this pandemic has done to exacerbate it, and I agree with that. But, there's always been a debilitating gap. So, my challenge to our district is, what are we going to do to really reimagine our district, to not only meet the needs of our scholars, but really exceed expectations in all areas. So we aren't going back and being complacent to how things have been, but really what's working well through this pandemic and what can we improve. And I think we've all through the last, special meetings really expressed that. So I just wanted to add that the target's always moving, and our district does operate with integrity, and with the numbers declining and mitigation efforts in place, vaccinations are here. So I remain hopeful that we can continue to open our schools safely, and get toward that full in-person learning that we all desire. So I wanted to thank you, and I will now, there's been a motion by Director Douglas, seconded by Director Simons. We'll now
May
call.
ask?
Oh,
May I
yep.
ask one more, or make one more
Yes,
point?
sorry
I'm
about that.
sorry. I know we don't always go around a second time, and at the time going first, I didn't have all my points, but thank you to the board members who have expressed appreciation. But through the discussion, I feel that I need to add a comment that this is the board's decision. We are not compelled to move into any models. So I just want to be clear that this is a board decision to move across models. And while it can be challenging, it remains the purview of the board. And should we ever encounter a situation where we feel we need to make a decision that's not in agreement with MDE, that is still the purview of the board, though it may not be of the most benefits. I just want to make a clarification from the points that were raised in the discussion. But again, echo everybody else's comments, and thank you, Chair Dawson Walton, for your comments as well. I greatly concur with those. Thank you.
Thank you. With
I have
Dr.
a comment as
Dr.
well.
Brooks. Okay.
I do believe that comment was directed toward me. So I just want to clarify that today, yes, this is the board's decision, but I do believe this is within the purview of Superintendent McIntyre's job. And I think the board looking forward does need to focus on governance, and allowing the superintendent to do the job that he was hired to do. So we can talk about this at a future meeting. We don't have to talk about it today. A potential resolution to allow Superintendent McIntyre to continue to do what he's done every time so far and follow the mandates by the state. There hasn't been a time that I know of the board has gone against the recommendations or mandates from the state or that regional support team. So that's where I'm at. I know right now it's the board's decision, but it's Superintendent McIntyre is just following the mandates from the state.
So thank you, everyone. Superintendent McIntyre, we've discussed also that I think this is something that, given that we do have a new board, we can dedicate some time at a future work session to have this discussion. Because I know every district does things a little bit differently as far as learning model changes. So thank you, everyone, for this discussion, and I will turn it over to Sherry to conduct a roll call vote.
Director Brooks,
Aye.
Director Dawson-Walton,
Aye.
Director Douglas,
Aye.
Director Grady,
Aye.
Director Mosqueda-Jones,
Aye.
Director Simons.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0.
So the meeting of the special meeting will adjourn at 7:59 p.m.
AM.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion to
Do we need
adjourn?
a motion to adjourn? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is there a motion to adjourn at
So moved.
7:59 p.m.? Is there a
So moved.
second?
Second.
All right. We're done. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Oh,
day.
we gotta vote on.
Sherry.
Bye,
Oh
everyone.
my gosh. All
Sherry,
right.
can you-
We're good.
Sherry, we take a roll call vote.
Aye.
Director Mosqueda-Jones,
Aye.
Director Grady,
Aye.
Director Douglas,
Aye.
Director Brooks,
Aye.
Director Dawson-Walton.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
for
Thank you.
everybody's hard work. Thank you.